Hello everyone. Today I wanted to do a little demo of some cool stuff I recently figured out and sort of thought through. It's taken me, I don't know, about a day over this holiday weekend to kind of like scratch out a few ideas and then come up with what I've developed here. But basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a look at Affinity Photo as a sort of Photoshop application killer. I know that's a very popular way to describe something. What I really mean by that is Photoshop has had no rival for a very long time. Yes, people like GIMP or Windows PowerPaint or other products, but nothing compares to Photoshop when it comes to the elegance of the tools and their workflows. Not always intuitive, often memorable. But in any case, Affinity Photo sort of has some of that same issues going on when it comes to sort of the elegance of its workflows. Like they have these different personas for creating images and rendering things and yeah, it's giving me all kind of checks here because it doesn't want me. This is the only persona that's going to work is the develop view, but it has some really powerful, ability to export in different sizes, if you're building like icons for mobile and stuff like that. But in any case, what I wanted to do is I wanted to sort of just do a little test run of this idea I had for Memorial Day, which on the Sunday here before Memorial Day. By the time I publish this, it's probably Memorial Day. I built this image you're seeing here, and I just pushed it out to Twitter. What's interesting about this is when I sort of envisioned it, I wanted this American flag in the background, but I couldn't find an American flag that quite looked like this. Now I had a nice American flag. It was similar. I could photograph it, but I couldn't get the waves and sort of the depth of field drop off that you see here. Just quite the way I wanted it. So this is what leads us to the tutorial today, which is basically how I wanted to build not just this backdrop, but inevitably a video transition, which I'll show you at the end here, made of a flag that is, other than being a photograph of a real flag, it is a digital animation of a waving flag that would cut over one image to reveal another. So again, I'll show you that at the end. But what I'm going to really demo is this process of building an animated flag that can work as a video transition inside Blender, which is a free open source 3D animation tool. Am I a 3D animator? No, there's probably other ways to do this, but I think I'm using some of the better techniques in Blender, even though I'm a complete noob. So I just thought I'd share some of the lessons that I've learned along the way, and we'll see how this goes. So first I want to tell you why would I do such a thing? Why would I build this flag digitally? Why would I animate one? Why do I care? I started to think about a video transition that I experienced back in the early 90s. There was this amazing product called the Amiga Video Toaster. I'm going to show you that right now. Let's take a look together. So NewTek is the name of the company that built it, but they had people like Will Wheaton, as you can see here, and Penn of Penn and Teller, and then Tony Hawk, the famous skateboarder, campaigning for their tool, helping to advertise their tool. But what I always was impressed with were these animations, like right here, these little sports silhouettes that would swipe across the screen or throw this ball, and then boom, it transitions the video. What's amazing about this product is they were also the people who created another 3D tool called Lightwave, and you're seeing some Lightwave segments here. So that's basically what Video Toaster did, is it sort of brought together computer graphic generation mostly as a vehicle to help create these phenomenal little video transitions and whatnot for the Amiga Toaster. When I was at Asbury University in the early 90s, I spent a summer working on the campus after my freshman year of college, and I met someone who worked in their award-winning video production studio. They were invited to the Olympics, and they won awards for shooting this amazing video at the Olympics. But in any case, while I was there, hanging out with these folks, I helped them edit video on a Video Toaster, and what an incredible opportunity that was. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create this image you see here, but I want to create it in a flag that sort of animates And so let me show you how that worked. Like, I'm going to just take you through the steps of what it took to create this flag. So the first thing I'm going to show you, I did a lot of photo editing to just kind of like straighten the lines out as best I could, but I kind of liked a lot of the distressing and the wrinkling in the flag. In fact, I went over it and tried to even it out as best I could. Basically, I photo edited the flag using like Affinity here, and then once I had that photo edit of the flag, I needed to bring it into Blender. So let's take a look at that. Let's go into a standard Blender movie, and what I need to do is I want to produce a flag. So there's a bunch of different ways to sort of create a flag. The most common old way would have been to like sort of come in this world. First thing I'm going to do is just delete some stuff. So I'm going to hit X on the keyboard with things selected and hit enter and start deleting them. It's always a right click on an item, hit X, enter to delete it. So I'm basically going to clear the scene here, X, and enter to delete it. And then the next thing I would recommend people do is down in the user preferences to simplify the creation of a flag. What we're going to do is we're going to turn on an add-on in Blender. So if you go to add-ons, you go search for images, you'll notice there's this add-on called import images as planes. So this saves you 2 or 3 steps. Normally you'd create a plane by adding it to the scene, you'd position it, then you'd go in and you'd have to add material and a texture to it, have that texture be an image, or sometimes you'd have to UV unwrap the plane and then lay an image to that. What this does is it just sort of does all of that in one fell swoop. So once you select that, you would hit Save User Settings. Doing that changes nothing visually except that stays checked, and then you could close this. Now that feature is immediately available to you. But the first thing I do again, once I have a scene, is I want to tilt the scene so that the front is facing me. So that's a 1 on the number pad. You have to have a number pad to do this. Otherwise, you have to use the view menu down here to start going into these features. So I'm going to just hit 1 to kind of put it to one side. Then I'm going to hit a 5. And what that does is that turns on the front orthographic view. So it doesn't really show perspective. It's just real flat. To move the cursor to the middle of the scene, object, snap, cursor to center, and it'll put it right to the center of the scene. I think I clicked the wrong thing. Cursor to center. Okay, and now it's in the center. If I were to hit 3, this will move us over to the right view. But you can see that it's in the center because there's the right and there's the front. So now our cursor's in the center. That's where we're going to end up putting our plane. So to add a plane to the scene, what I first want to check is that we're in object mode, which we are. I'm going to just hit Shift A. With Shift A, I would normally just go to plane. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down to this new option called Images as Planes. So by clicking that, I'm now looking through my system. So I actually have a Dropbox folder out here where if I go to Project, Flag Transition Video, there's my flag. So again, this is a quirky thing about the tool. Once I click US Flag, most dialog boxes and other tools would have the interaction button down here. It's up here. Import images as planes in the upper right corner. I'm going to click that. There, we've imported the image as a plane, and it looks awful because it's lying on its back right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the side view again. I'm over on the side. Now I want to rotate this. Now there's a couple ways to rotate. You can hit R on the keyboard and just start rotating. But I don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit escape. What I want to do instead is it's facing down right now. So I want to hit rotate, but I'm going to type -90 using the buttons at the top of the letter portion of the keyboard, not the number pad. And then I'm going to hit enter. Now if I swing back around to the front by hitting the 1 on the keyboard, you see nothing. Why would that be? Well, that's because if I go into this view down here, if I go to material, we still see nothing. Why is that? Well, it got darker, but why is it still nothing? Well, let's take a look around. So I'm going to zoom in using my mouse wheel. Then I'm going to press in my middle mouse button, which is the mouse wheel, and start rotating the scene manually so that we kind of get some perspective view here. We'll see that, well, we're still not seeing anything. Why would that be? Well, I'm going to go back to the front view. Then I'm going to go to the side view. I'm going to put the cursor right here with a left mouse click. Then I'm going to go back to the front view, and I'm going to move that same cursor now back a little bit. So it's in front of and to the side of this scene right here. So I'm going to go back and forth by 1 and 3 so you can kind of see where I'm going to put the next thing. And now I want to add a light. So I'm going to say Shift A again. And then now I'm going to go down to lamp, and I'm just going to grab the hemisphere. And now suddenly we see it. The reason we didn't see it before is because there was no light in the scene. This is still not ideal because it's kind of like has this umbrella down. You can see this long dotted line doesn't mean it's like on a pole. It means it's actually aiming straight down and we're catching some of the flag here. So to fix this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the side. Now there's two more keys on the number pad you might care about, the 4 and the 6. If you start hitting the 4 and the 6, it'll rotate around the scene sort of incrementally, which is kind of nifty. Again, you can hit 3 to just whip to the side. You can't see the flag right now because it's so skinny. It's right on that blue line. But in any case, here we have our light. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to hit R. And holding down Control, I can kind of like move in chunks. And so now I'm kind of aiming at what is basically the center. I'm going to click the left mouse button to kind of lock it in position. It's aiming right at the center there. If I hit 1 again, you'll notice that that center should be on this center line, but notice we're kind of off-centered here. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to pull it over. And if I drag it this way, now we're sort of aiming right at the dead center of the flag. I want to rotate around with a 6 again so you can see how it's kind of poking right through the middle of the flag there. So that is us with a light on a flag. Now if I were to try to render this scene right in here, it wouldn't do anything because there's no camera in the scene. So the next thing we're going to do is add a camera. And to add a camera, I'm going to click down real low, and then I'm going to rotate to the side again. Notice that it's not bad. It's down here, so that's probably fine. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift A, and now I'm going to add a camera. There's no features to that. You just hit camera, and now the camera exists and it's in position. It is in a horrible position, mind you, right? So that's no good for us. So I'm going to flip back to 1. Okay, yeah, it's aiming off into oblivion. What I really want to do is I want to pull it back so it's sort of like below, sort of off to the side, but below this. But now I want to rotate the face of this camera so that it's aiming at the flag. To do that, I'm going to flip to the top view. So if I hit 7, I flip up to the top view. And now if I hit rotate again, it's going to rotate it along that x-axis there. Now I can sort of aim at the flag. Remember, the flag is on the red line there. So if I go back to 1, we're doing okay. Let's go back to 3. Now we know that the flag is on the blue line here, so I need to rotate this up. So I'm going to hit rotate again with an R and just aim it up. Now why am I doing this? Doing this because if I go back to 1, this is sort of what people call the hero view when you're looking up at something, right? So I want to see what that's going to look like when I actually render it. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and grab this little draggable corner up here and pull it down, and that opens a new window. And up in this new view, I'm going to change the view to camera. So now we're seeing what the camera sees down below here. And we know right now it's not looking that great. It's kind of a bad angle. So I'm going to flip back to 3, and now I'm going to back up that camera, and then I'm going to rotate it down a little bit. Okay, that's not horrible. Let's back it up a little bit. Might as well get the whole thing in view, right? And then rotate it again. Okay, we want more of a heroic view, so I'm going to rotate it real high this time, and now I'll drag it in. Now there's another way. If you have the angle right, but you're not satisfied with sort of the position of it, you can also hit G, which will just grab the camera and let you kind of, doesn't change the angle on the camera, but it'll let you sort of fiddle with it along one axis. So I'm going to do that. I think I'm actually going to move in a little tighter. So I'm going to hit G again and drag up toward the intersection of the green and blue. So real tight on that. Now I'm going to go back to 1, and I'm going to rotate this camera view a little bit. And that just kind of makes it look dramatic. And then I'm going to hit G again, and I'm going to drag until I'm kind of satisfied with where it's sitting. So right about there. So let's see what this would look like if I rendered it right now. So I'm going to hit render, and it should render in this window. So it says right here that normally it'd be a 1920 by 1080 render. We're going to render 50% of that size. I'm just going to hit render because I'm on this little camera thing. And it says that's what it looks like. Oh, isn't that nice? Well, maybe not so much, but it's a good start. So this is a good stopping place for part 1. Let's take off again in part 2 in the next video, where we can talk more about how to actually get physics working for us and animate this flag.